Commissioners Jeff Kennard and Diana Finnegan. City of Inverness Council Member Jackie Hepfer. City of Crystal River Council Member Ken Brown. And County Attorney Denise A. Diamond Lynn. And the County Administrator Steve Howard.
Thank you. Board, at this time, A4, I'm looking for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Approval by Ms. Hefner, Councilwoman Hefner and Davis. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, board, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That passes 7-0. Thank you. Item B, approval of the minutes, B1 and B2. Board, what is your pleasure?
Chair, motion to approve item B1 and B2.
Thank you. Is there any public comment about the minutes? Seeing none, board, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That passes 7-0. At this time, I'm going to open it to the public. You have 3 minutes, and anyone wishing to speak, please fill out a green card, announce your name and where you live. Who would like to speak at this time? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Steve Meckler, live in Lecanto. I'm from the failing state of Maryland, and I'm here to speak today about the people being elected to the board, which I highly recommend Elaine Klein, Steve Malign, Lauren Nelson, and Justin Strickland. And just to update our 2 conservative members of the board, I was here last year, probably for 3 months straight. At first, I thought there was just ignorance going on and people didn't realize what's happening. I seen it over 20 years ago in Maryland and Delaware. It all started with these library things. It morphed into the schools having psychiatrists and saying your daughter should be a boy, your boy should be a girl. They started giving them medications back then to change their gender without even letting the parents know. When it all blew up on the news, they says, well, it was to keep the parents from giving retribution against the child, which in real life, they didn't want the parents strangling them. I seen it all. I spoke to our commissioners here about the suicide rates in Maryland and Delaware on these children that went through this process. It's even higher today. I still have friends up there. I talk to them all the time. It's over the top. Their resolution to solve this problem was after Maryland went heavy in Democrat areas for Trump. The first thing the board did was to do away with voter ID. In Maryland, after 2016 election, no more ID. You just go up and say, 23 Hopewell Road, vote. You can walk out the door, come back in and vote again. This is what's going on. I'm telling you today, it's happening here. We're about 20-some years behind the ball. So today, and Madam Chair, you like the governor, pretend the governor's sitting right here in the chair. When you vote today, because I'm sure you never said, Governor, look at the great things we're doing in Citrus County. You know, we're really pushing this stuff in the libraries against the little children. So always remember, groom dogs, not children. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. If you will, please no applause. We can try to move this along, and we all appreciate each speaker. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Les Lovejoy, and I'm from Beverly Hills, and I go to Hills Church. Also, previously from the state of Maryland, and I could go on for days, but I'm not going to. I believe the library display of LBGT literature that is being considered conflicts with the beliefs of the majority of the citizens of Citrus County. And I feel that for this committee to vote and to promote or endorse this display shows complete contempt for the people you are supposed to represent. The residents of this county support our public libraries through our tax dollars. And therefore, we should have say in what's being displayed. And I believe that if you impose these upon us, you're going against our will. A display at the entrance of our library would be a promotion and endorsement by this committee. And if you don't think a display means anything, then walk into any bookstore and first thing you see is all the books that are being promoted are right up front. The first thing you see to influence people. This is done intentionally in order to influence our children. I believe this should be left to the parents. I have no objection with literature being put in the library as long as it's put into an area that's protected, where a child can be accompanied by a parent, and then they can pursue the knowledge that they need. I have no problem with that at all. This book here should be something that should be promoted in all of our schools and in our libraries. It's called The Original 13. And it was written by pastors, members of clergy, men of God. And all of our original constitutions were written by pastors and men of God. Massachusetts, matter of fact, that constitution was used as a format to write our present constitution. And I want to end with this by simply saying a statement by Francis Scott Key just before he wrote our national anthem. Standing on the ship watching Fort McHenry being bombed, he recalled a quote by George Washington that the American Christian would rather live on his feet than die on his knees. No, excuse me, reverse that. The American Christian would rather die on his feet than live on his knees. I believe all the people speaking here today are living on their feet. They're not on their knees. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Wilder, and I live in Hernando. All of you here today in county government are representatives and have a very important decision to make. I'm hoping you will take into consideration that the Library Advisory Board should have a balance in controversial points of view in order to represent all people, including the parents who can't be here today because they're working to pay taxes for the town. As far as I know, there was a large majority on this board who favored the LGBT library displays and only one member who was opposed. The four individuals who you elect should be considered on how they represent the parents of all our children who choose to raise them without undue interference or overreach from any government body that is heavily one-sided. This is the only way that we can have a peaceful solution to any solutions that come before the Library Advisory Board. I am a retired public school teacher of over 30 years from Massachusetts, and as such, I was an employee of the town government. About quite a number of years ago, two of my friends, I should say that almost all of my friends who were teachers were dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, and it didn't make any difference at all to us. But anyway, two of my friends who were kindergarten teachers had gone to a workshop outside of our town and had been given the book Heather Had Two Mummies. And they eventually did have a little boy who had two mummies, but they didn't need to use the book because they knew how to do a balance and to treat all children and all parents equally. And since this was a book that I know is in one of our libraries, I just want to close with the fact that as a government, you do need to respect the role of parents because the family is the first form of government. And causing conflict is what is happening with children all across the country with their parents as they're getting information that conflicts with the parental point of view. And I'm hoping that all of you decision makers today will please remember that and put the families first, all of the families, to do what they want to do, but to not have our government interfere with the role of the families. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And also, would you remember to please silence your phones? I forgot to tell you that, and I keep hearing some dinging. Thank you. Hopefully that's not coming from the board up here.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to hear from the people in this county. I'm Steve Moline from Hernando. I have my name in to be a member of the Library Advisory Board, so I'd appreciate your consideration on that. I urge you to appoint people to this board who reflect the moral and godly values of this county. I and many others, there were more than 50 here last year, oppose special interest celebrations and displays in the public taxpayer-funded libraries. I'd like to read from Britannica about the changing role of libraries, and I'd encourage you to look at the role of libraries. When my wife and I went to the Citizens Academy a couple of years ago, we were both impressed by the offerings in the libraries, and the website also gives a lot of good information. I'm not sure a lot of people know about what the library services are and what are available, so I'd encourage that. From Britannica, it says, and society has begun to value information more highly. The so-called information industry has developed. This industry encompasses publishers, software developers, online information services, and other businesses that package and sell information products for a profit. Now, libraries represent those organizations as well. And I would hope that the library, the offerings could be more readily available to people and be aware of it. So I'm saying maybe the message the library is sending needs to be looked at as well as a mission for the whole community. I did work with educational publishers, both with text and digital resources, so I have a lot of experience in that area, and I think I can bring that forward to the board. With that, I'd just like to encourage you to look at the new candidates, to look at fresh approaches for that advisory board, because I think it's time for the libraries to come forward. There are a lot of things that can be done to make the libraries more relevant for the people in this county. I think there could be more outreach and there could be effective change. Not that there's anything wrong with the libraries today, but I think they could be at the heartbeat of the community if you allow it to happen instead of focusing on special celebrations that should be not considered in the library. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Neil Carr from Crystal River. I'm here to urge you to appoint people to the Library Advisory Board who reflect our county's conservative values, not New York or Hollywood values. We remain opposed to the LGBT pride celebrations and displays in our public libraries. Taxpayers should not be forced to subsidize a promotion of values that mock the religious values we try to instill in our children and grandchildren. Last year, when more than 50 residents took time out of their day to show up at the library advisory board meeting to share their concerns about these displays, only one of the advisory board members who are seeking reappointment today treated us with respect, and that was Elaine Cleed. Other board members either ignored or insulted us. We support Elaine Cleed's reappointment, but ask you to replace the others with citizens who respect our values and best interest of the community at heart. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
I'm Doug Farnsworth from Floral City. I just wanted to address the same issue, appoint some good people to the library board that reflect the values of the community. The display that went on that caused so much controversy just wasn't necessary. And somebody should have caught it long before it got that far and caused that kind of controversy. We're not asking, to put on a display of what God did to Sodom and Gomorrah. Nothing like that at all. Just, keep it a whole lot more neutral than it has been. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Hi, my name's Molly Coletti, and I live in Citrus Hills, and I'm here to support conservatives being on the advisory board to more honestly reflect the citizens of the county. I sure appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Doug Nicholson. I emailed a number of you people yesterday in regards to my viewpoint on the library people, that being conservative, as most of the community is. I held a very privileged opportunity in my life. The Friends of the Library came to me as an artist and approached me to provide them with a painting that now hangs in the Crystal River Library. It's called The Spring of Awakenings. The LGBT movement is not the spring of awakenings that I have wanted for my grandchildren, for my friends' children. I live on Crystal Street. The Crystal River Library is right across from my primary school, where my grandson is in the 4th grade. I do hope that the LGBT members are removed, and I feel this, any commissioner who's in favor of this is not following the leadership of the community that you serve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nicholson? Sir?
Yes.
Could you fill out a green card, please?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello,
Hi.
my
good
name is
morning.
Lala Sanders. I live in Inverness, Florida. I feel no LGBT displays should ever be displayed anywhere in any library. Ask yourselves, what is the purpose? In fact, we need to avoid headlines like in Georgia, pedophile rings exposed for molesting their adopted sons. Those responsible to appoint people to the Library Advisory Board should be very convicted on who they appoint. I support Elaine Clipp's reappointment, and please replace others that respect God and our values for our community. Please do your job right the first time to avoid further meetings like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lynn. I live in Homosassa. And I'm here to talk about the same thing that the previous speakers have talking about. I don't want to be here, but this is important. I didn't speak last year, but I do know what was said and how people felt they were treated about it, that they weren't listened to, weren't heard, and ridiculed. I hope that doesn't happen again. The displays of the LGBTQ population does not belong in the front of a library or anything else like it. It should be books that are important, and kids should not be met with that kind of stuff as they walk in the library. If you want a section for it, which I believe they have every right to have, where their parents can do it, it isn't the decision of elected officials. It's the decision of parents to what their children are exposed to and taught. And you have the power to make sure that happens. Use it bravely. I understand also that the only one seeking reappointment last year that treated the people with respect was Elaine Clyde. For that reason, I would support her as well. So that's all I have to say, but it is very sincere, very important, and I hope you're hearing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Dean Bales. I live in Homosassa, Florida. And you remember this character, Joe Camel of RJR Reynolds. He was removed after it was found that even though they did not overtly target children for tobacco ads, they found that children were more familiar with Joe Camel, the character, as they were with some Disney characters. keep in mind there are sly ways of indoctrinating that are under the radar and are very effective. And everybody censors. I like that invocation prayer. The difference between the wise and the fool is that the fool will tell people what they want to hear, but the wise will tell them the ugly truth, something like that. Well, I might not be the wisest guy in the room, but I tell the ugly truth. And here's the ugly truth. You can't put every book in the library. There's been millions of books written. Everybody censors. Everybody puts their thumb on the scales. No man can serve two masters, for he will love the one and hate the other. When you have two people or two ideologies together, people are going to get in there and love the one and hate the other. And it seems like there is a love for LGBT stuff because they get their own stand-alone display that's not given to other cultures. There's a lot of cultures in America, aren't there? A whole lot of people like to do a whole lot of different things, but yet they get to stand alone as, a display that you see. And we are smeared in the Chronicle as bad apples. They censor an enormous amount of information that ought to be getting to the public and isn't getting to the public. And I've said before that on a previous event that, there's a lot of censorship going on, and we need libraries because they are a backup. There's things disappearing from online information that is being censored. They recently found that Twitter's foremost censor was, you guessed it, a homosexual. This is the guy that allowed the Ayatollah Khomeini to have his Twitter account to, rail against America, death to America, to Israel, and everything else. But, if you say a man is a man and a woman is a woman, bang, you're out of there. And everybody censors. Let's just be honest about it. There's the honest and the dishonest. Well, I'm being honest about it. We can't put everything in a library, and some things just don't belong because some movements encourage menticide. They encourage the death of thinking. They encourage the kind of censorship where they encourage lying and despicable things, but yet if you speak truth, you're going to get censored, but yet they never admit to censoring. Funny how that works. I previously on a case, oops, is that me? Time's up?
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Thank you. We heard you, though. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Cushman. I'm from Citrus Springs. I was here last year. I'm here again this year. I hope I don't have to come back next year. Citrus is a conservative county. We vote conservative, so we expect our elected officials to be conservative. It's just what we do. For us to have to come back here today, we didn't get what we thought we were going to get. That's why we're back. It is very disheartening to be back here. The entryway into the library is not the place for these displays. I don't know how much clearer we can state this. We have 4 conservatives that we would like to have on the board. Elaine Clyde, Steve Moline, Lenora Nelson, and Justin Strickland. We need this board to be evened out. And we need you, our commissioners, to do your job right this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Hope you don't mind. I brought a teleprompter. My name is Michael Nappy. I live here in Inverness. I'm a Christian conservative, and I know many people that share my beliefs far beyond all the people here today. We have the right to be heard and to stand for what we believe, but we also support the rights others have for their beliefs, even if they do differ from ours. That's what makes America great. But we need more people like Elaine Clyde on this board. She represents people like myself, people who are the majority of the residents and voters in our county. You know, there's a reason why so many people from New York and Miami and other big cities call Inverness home. And that's because it's nothing like New York and Miami and other big cities. Now, I don't know all of you presiding over the event, but I hope you hold your positions because you believe in the government and the Constitution and you want to represent people Us. I fear that many people go into politics simply for a paycheck. These people strive only to advance their political careers and make as much as they can on or under the table, and I certainly hope that we never see people like that sitting where you are now. So please appoint more members to the board like Elaine Clyde. Lastly, I want to mention the proposed LGBTQ display at the public library. Like any issue, there are two sides, and knowing I'm a Christian, you know where I stand. But I'm not asking you to choose whether which side is right or which side is wrong. That's up to God. The real issue is a parent's right to choose when and where their children learn about the birds and bees. What age do you think is appropriate for your children or your grandchildren to learn that? Now, how would you like that right taken away? Many good parents go out of the way to engage their children, to police what they see, and protect them from vulgarity on television and the internet, and that gets harder every day. Please keep our library a safe, neutral ground where children can go without being force-fed propaganda, and where parents can relax knowing, oh, good, my child's in the library. So please protect the parents' right to choose when and where their children learn about these things, and please keep Inverness the sweet, safe haven we all enjoy. If people want to live in cities like New York, Los Angeles, or Miami, they have every right to move. But we have a right to keep the town we love the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Very good, Donna. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Steve Coletti from Hernando, Florida. I just got two small points. One being, I would encourage you to look at the new candidates and appoint accordingly to possibly get a fresh view on the library. We all know that any company or any functioning body needs some fresh blood, and just to bring on the existing board is it gets stale. The other thing is I want to oppose the LBGT display. Anybody knows what a display does. Just go into any supermarket or anywhere, and when it hits you first, you know this is what you're pushing. So if it's there at all, it belongs back in the back like every other book or books, whichever you want to say. And if somebody wants to go read about it, they can go to the back and read to it just like anybody else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Anita Marshall, and I live in Homosassa. And I'm here to verbally and let you see that I oppose the LGBT Pride Month celebrations and displays in our public libraries. I found it rather hypocritical as we were praying to God earlier this morning to begin this meeting that any one of you would ever support this kind of activity or drag queens that are performing and interacting with the children of our county in our libraries. We support Elaine, or I support Elaine Need, her appointment, and I ask you to replace the others with those that do respect God, pray to God, pray for the things that I think most of us feel is important to keep our families as families together and our children safe from a lot of things that we did not have to deal with when we grew up as children. I thank you, and I pray to God that you all select our new library, people who represent our county, with all this in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jack Marshall, John Marshall. I'm of a very similar persuasion as my wife is that just spoke before me. I live in Sugar Mill Woods, and I've talked with many of my neighbors. I was on a board there for 12 years, so I do have a feeling for folks that live in Sugar Mill Woods. I'm here to urge you to appoint people to the Library Advisory Board who will reflect our county's conservative views. I believe the the majority that live here in Citrus County are conservatives, and I would hope that you would represent us equally. I support Elaine Clyde's reappointment, and I would hope that you would listen to the people that are speaking this morning and that you have not already made up your minds and that you have an open mind at this point. And thank you for considering our points. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Hi there and good morning. I'm John Reese. Lived in Homosassa 1997, been in the county, retired Coast Guard. And I'm here primarily for my good friend Steve Moline to support him. I've known him and his wife for years. A godly man, extremely intelligent, high character, a leader at our church that we go to, Gulf to Lake. But I just wish you all would put him in. I mean, I totally concur with him and his beliefs. With that said, I'm against the displays. I have kind of a personal thing there, and I hope this isn't against the rules, but I was going to read just a little scripture here.
No, please do.
Okay. For this reason, God gave them up to dishonorable passions. For their women exchanged natural relations for those that are contrary to nature. And the men likewise gave up natural relations with women and were consumed with passion for one another. Men committing shameless acts with men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. My brother, who was gay, passed away in Miami in 2014. Love him to death, miss him dearly. But I saw this play out in my life, and I just think that pushing homosexuality, anything on anybody, much less kids, is just wrong. It's just wrong. So I'm here to stand for that. And also 2 Timothy 4, for the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them with a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. But you keep your head, and I'm hoping the board keeps their head in all of these matters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hockmuth from Homosassa, and I am a Christian conservative great-grandmother, so I am here on behalf of the children. I just don't know how to say it. I just don't think that they should have to watch these disgusting or go and even be exposed to these disgusting displays that could go on in the libraries. So I'm asking you to do due diligence, because this is, as the previous person said, this is a conservative county. And so I am asking you please to put on conservative board members for the library so that our children have half a chance, so that maybe we won't have to be back here again in June or whatever month it is that they celebrate this and doing this all over again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much. My name is Rita Fox. I'm in Lecanto and Brentwood. I've only been in this county for about 7 months now, but I'm speaking to you as an American. I'm speaking to you as a Vietnam-era veteran. I was an MP. And I'm speaking to you as someone who considers themselves to be an agnostic Jew. I was raised in Germany from 1960 to 1966. And listening to the majority of speakers, if not 100%, I'm sorry I haven't been in the room the entire time, it reminds me of a time known as the Nazi era. Adolf Hitler liked to tell people what they could and couldn't read, who they could and couldn't marry. He put homosexuals in concentration camps with pink stars. Jews had yellow. He had colors for everybody that he deemed inappropriate. Now, I am not a religious scholar by any means, but I do remember God, and there are many gods. So let me get this on the record. If you're not praying to every God, we should not be allowed to pray to one God. We all have different gods. I've already told you, I'm agnostic. But everybody keeps saying this is a conservative community. I would like to remind everyone on the board and in this audience, while we may be a conservative community, we are a county in a state, one of 50, that abide by the laws of our Constitution, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. I support those. I will fight for democracy till the day I die. I will fight for the right to read what you want, see what you want. If you are opposed to an LBG display in a library, don't look at it. Walk away. If you don't like a radio station, change the channel. If you don't like CNN, go to Fox or vice versa. But no one in the United States of America in 2023 has the right to tell anyone else what we should or should not do, as long as we are abiding by the laws. I think God says, welcome everyone, love your neighbor. I try and do that, and I don't even believe
Sir,
in God.
please,
So let's try and be inclusive instead of antagonistic towards people that you don't approve of. That is not the American way. Thank you very much. I'm sure I'm very popular
Thank you.
right now.
Thank you. Please, I've asked you, please, it's disruptive. Please give everybody the same courtesy that you have been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
I have a lot to follow. My name is Ben Olson. I'm from Inverness. First and foremost, Rita.
Please just address me. Thank
No,
you.
I just wanted to say
Oh.
we all have the right to say anything we want, and
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate Rita's service. I also appreciate the gentleman back there who made their points, which are very differing from everybody else. It's more of a respect for everybody's viewpoint and letting everybody speak, even if you don't agree with them.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that. What I wanted to come here today for was I'm new. I'm an export of Illinois. And I left with my family because instead of trying to continue to work with the system that we had up there, especially in our kids' schools, where my child, who I have college age, I have elementary school age, and they can start to learn what gender they want to be. Okay, I'm not doing that with my first grader. I'm not doing that with my pre-kindergartner, right? I don't believe in the sexualization of children, period. Homosexual, heterosexual, none of it. They shouldn't be taught these things yet. There's a reason why there is an appropriate age. I also believe that in our public settings, like a school library, it should be neutral. I don't believe in promoting heterosexual sexualized relationships there in the beginning, when you come in. I don't believe it with the homosexual either. I believe that in those things, it's my right as a parent to raise up my children as they go into these spaces, specifically in a library, right? Where I don't want to, not fear is not the word. I want to be able to have them feel safe in exploring themselves in the innocence of their youth, which is not happening with a display like that. Now, another gentleman here had mentioned other opportunities for other places where a parent goes, yeah, sure. There's other options, but even in you appointing library advisory panel boards, this should be balanced out. This should be neutral. We shouldn't be pushing agendas. And I'm just going to tell you, coming from the Chicago area, acceptance, there is no level of acceptance that will fulfill this. None. This is the gateway. This is the breach in the wall. From here it continues. This is why I left the school district, why at third grade my daughter can start picking a gender. Why are we not fighting this? Because things happen at the library district level. They happen at the school district level. And if we don't start instilling people there who support family values, right? And I'm very passionate about this issue because this is my right as a parent and I don't want that taken away. So I would just address, I don't know any of the library. I just came in, I'm learning all the bells and whistles of things. I appreciate all of your viewpoints on this. I would implore that you just do this with a measured tone and balance and that
Thank you,
fair.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Citrus County.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Chair, I didn't get his name.
Sir, I'm
Ben
sorry.
Olson.
What?
Ben Olson.
Ben Olson?
Yes.
Thank you.
I did fill out a card.
Yes, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Deborah DeCordova from Hernando. I at one time worked in collection development in a university library, excuse me. My understanding is you want to provide resources and information in many different areas. It's not endorsing an area to provide information about it. I also was a third grade teacher. I studied child development. I then became a licensed psychotherapist, and I specialized in treating children until, sorry, I'm not used to getting up and talking in these places.
You're fine.
Then I became a psychotherapist. I trained in children and families, and I worked with children in family guidance centers and their parents in their foster homes. And then I decided what I really needed to be doing was working with the parents, not the children, because the children were doing okay. The parents were the ones that were having the problems. So the last 20 years, I was a therapist for adults. You know, I hear people talk a lot about freedom. We're free here in Florida. Well, it doesn't feel very free if people are restricting what information can be presented in the libraries. To me, anyway, that doesn't seem very free. You talk to an adult who's gay or trans, you ask them when did they know they were gay or trans? They knew since they were a young child, and not because of a display in a library. The display in the library may give them the vocabulary and the understanding to talk about their feelings and what they're experiencing. I'll tell you, if I walked into a library and there was a big display about skydiving, I would not skydive. If there's a big display about fishing, I would not become a fisherman. If there's a big display about gay and gender studies, fine. If it's something I'm interested in, I may pursue it. But the idea that having something there is going to promote it or endorse it or make people choose differently, I think is just fear. I think people say that they want you to reflect the values of your community. I'm not sure all the values of the community get equally expressed here. People of my point of view tend to be afraid to speak up because they're going to be ganged up on by the other people in the community. There are I'm sure there are gay people in this meeting. There's gay people in your neighborhood, gay people in your family. They need to be accepted like everybody else. And I don't think that putting up a sign informing people about these issues is a bad thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Please, ma'am, and sir, stop. I will have you removed. Deputy, thank you. Welcome. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Peters, and I live in Floral City. And I am so discouraged by the hate that I see spoken about in this room. This is America. Everyone, no matter race, religion, sexual orientation, nationality, if you're an American citizen, you deserve freedom, and you deserve encouragement, and you deserve rights. It seems that there are those who would, in the name of Christianity, which if they listened to Christ who said, love one another and do unto others as you would have them do unto you, they would not be saying these things. Our library does an excellent job. I served on the board. I retired because I'm going to be 80, and I figured, well, I can still find the rooms I needed to go. We have an excellent library system. And what is displayed, kids don't pay attention. When kids come to the library, they want to go to the programs, they want to go to the games. Kids aren't influenced by what they see in a display. And I think in order to retain our freedom as a nation, we need to be able to have displays. We need to be able to talk about these things without condemning one another. And I love all of you and I appreciate you and thank you for your service.
And thank you for your service. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Don Martin. I live in Inverness. I'd like to urge you to search your hearts when you make this decision. Let's not forget that children should be the #1 priority and the influences that they see out here every day. #1, God said, hate the sin, love the sinner. I am against all LGBT displays regardless where they are. I stand firm on that. But #1, children should be the priority, not the people that's running for the board. And regardless of what anybody says about kids don't pay attention to displays, I oppose that 100%. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I guarantee he pays attention to displays. So please search your hearts when you make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Mary Cedar, Inverness. Because Hitler was brought up, I'd like to say that I deal in facts and history. Factually speaking, Hitler took children away at the age of 3 years old from their parents. Factually speaking, the first transgender in all history was done by Hitler. He would take men and women and do this to their bodies against their will. And when you talk about liberty, liberty is for parents to raise their children morally and ethically as they see fit without government interference. Liberty is freedom from bondage. And the CDC put out the numbers on a high incidence of children having suicide. And when the same-sex couples go out on date, and there is a high incidence of physical abuse from one to the other. This is an act of bondage. It is damning to little children. And all we're asking you to do is let children be children. And one more thing I want to talk about, the policy that when you go in the library as a parent and you see something you like, you know what the policy is? You have to write out a form and submit it, and then they submit it to experts to decide whether your objection is expert enough or not. As a parent, I would be livid. If my 3 boys, when I had 3 boys, walked into the library and saw that policy that you have is narcissistic, because I would be livid. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Kathleen Tybus. I live in Beverly Hills. And before I say any more, I will add that my grandson is a transgender. He is presenting himself as his child's mother now. We have not rejected him. We love him. He is born into our family, and he will always be in our family. But I am here again to encourage your careful consideration of the traditional values based on Judeo-Christian ethics and moral standards. We have a responsibility to speak out against celebrations, displays, and promotions of immorality that mocks the standards of Almighty God has established us to live by and to teach our children and our grandchildren. It is written, whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, of excellence, praiseworthy, think about these things. Most people might say that we want this, but may compromise for those who twist the truth to fit their own agenda. To maintain a strong moral example of respect for these standards, I am asking you to use wisdom and discretion to appoint library advisory board members who are respectful of those values and truly have the best interests of our children at heart. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Ballard. My wife and I raised our children in this school system, and now we are raising our grandchildren in this school system. Love Citrus County. I believe this has been home for us for many, many years. And what I urge you to do, Commissioners, I do not know each of the candidates, but my urging has to do with the philosophy of those advisory members. I've heard a couple of speakers, and I just want to reinforce this idea, is that we're calling on you to represent us as parents. I don't believe in censorship. I respect everyone's worldview, even though it is not, may not be mine. This is not about censorship. This is not about everyone having my worldview, but what this is I want to have the right and the privilege to teach my children and now my grandchildren about human sexuality. I don't want the school system doing it. I don't want the library doing it. I am not asking you to remove those materials. I'm asking that you place on the advisory council those men and those women who will keep the library a neutral place and allow me as a parent, if I have a child who has those issues, to look for the material that will help us guide them through that period. I appreciate you guys. I voted for you guys, and so please partner with me as a grandparent. Place people there that will also partner with my wife and myself to do what's right for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is not my first time appearing here before this board. I've never worn a political T-shirt before.
Your name, please.
Deborah Spence, Crystal River.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've never worn a political T-shirt before, but this time I think it's appropriate for me to say that this is what an old lesbian looks like. Because we keep hearing stories about gays and lesbians in this county and how they're pedophiles and groomers and all this other stuff. And this is what it looks like in this county. Myself, my wife, we've been here for 7 years, we're homeowners, and I really get offended by it. Two situations that have come up to me fairly recently, and one is that if I'm in a public washroom, and I've gone to the bathroom, I'm washing my hands, and a little girl walks in. 7 out of 10 times, that little girl is going to turn and walk out of the room when she sees me. Why? I'm no threat to her. She'll come back in with a parent, and the mother goes, oh. And then they go and do the thing. I am not what you need to fear for your children. When I was at the Manatee Festival on Saturday, there was a little boy that was lost. Was that for me?
No.
Okay. There was a little boy that was lost. I could not get involved because there was a threat that I could be accused of something by bending down and talking to this little boy that was lost and in distress. So those are two things that have happened, but I want to get away from that right now. And we keep hearing about the library display that was a year and a half ago. Let's put that to rest. Did anybody see the Christmas display at the Homosassa Library this Christmas? Anyone? Crickets. And I ask that because the library display was phenomenal. It was a display of books that were gift wrapped. You could not see the author, you could not see the title. And the premise was, take a gift home for yourself. Gift yourself a book. How amazing is that? I give credence to the Library Advisory Board for allowing this type of display, to Eric Head and to his staff that come up with these ideas to basically be an amazing library. You all know, or most of you know at this point, that I have volunteered at tech classes. And at one of the tech classes, it was on Google. And we went through as elderly people, and we went to Google, Google Maps, Google Earth. And one of the women there was an elderly woman who was born in China. And she says, China part of this? And we went through and we looked and we said, yes. She found her childhood home on a library computer. And there was joy in that room from everybody that was there. Because these classes are so important. And all we talk about here is the LGBT pride displays. The library is so much more than that, and we need to get away from everything else. I would recommend that we continue with the library board that we have. They've done well for this past year. They don't always do what I think they should do, but I think there's a good cross-center of what we have.
Thank you.
By the way, my library card.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kathy Gates, Inverness. I can remember when we went through this before, the mistreatment, harassment of the original Library Advisory Board members. It was horrible. Mr. Howard, you're new to the county. I don't know if you've ever even seen a picture of what the original display was. Let's not forget what it was. A very simple, nondescript display in the library. You would have had to trip over it to notice the rainbow on it. It was not in anybody's face. So let's remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Timothy Gilbert. I'm from Inverness.
Thank you.
Couple of questions, I guess. I was just taking notes in the back. One, what agenda item is the LGBTQ displays? It wasn't on my packet. So I'm just curious on when you guys will vote on that. Second, on the application for the Library Advisory Board, do we ask everyone's religion, their party affiliation, or a conservative test? Because I hear the comment rhino a lot, right? So is that on the application? Because I think that's what the crowd wants to see, I guess. I guess all applications now are regardless of experience or resume. I'm going to say something that I've never said in my life, and I think it's going to be comical to some. I agree with Mr. Kitchen when he was here last time, when he said we had a lot of great applicants here with master's degrees and other things like that. Why aren't we looking at that? Let's just look at quality. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what book you read. I don't care. Are you good at your job? Yes, cool, great. Let's vote on that guy or that girl or that person. I don't care. I heard, we don't need any other displays other than LGBTQ. Censoring is not okay, but it's okay for liberal agendas. That we have drag queens in our library, and I've not seen one. I would love a photograph of a drag queen in a citrus library because it doesn't exist. What fantasy land are they looking at? Last thing, doesn't the library section have a romance section? I think it does. Should we start going through every book in that section? If there's a boy and a girl kissing, don't do it. Because you're sexualizing children then. You're encouraging them about a physical romance connection. And I agree with the speakers here today that said we need to stay neutral, right? Again, it shouldn't be about politics. It shouldn't be about religion. I want someone who works with the library as an advisor, on someone who knows how the library system works and how they can add value. That's what I think we should talk about. I think the candidates that want to be on the library board that have applied today, come up here and tell us that, right? Hey, I had great ideas to raise money, to get more books into kids' hands. That's the topic we should have. Not all of this nonsense that we've been hearing today. So please keep doing a good job and look at qualifications and what the person brings to the table, not what they post about on Facebook when they go home later on. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Rosemary Nillis, Inverness. My husband and I came here over 10 years ago. We found this to be a very inclusive and welcoming community, and we still believe it and want it to be that. Let's go back a little bit. In the 1600s and 1700s, thousands of people came from other continents, came to this continent, desperately searching for freedom from religious persecution, many in Europe. People still come for that reason to this country. Our nation was founded on the separation of church and state. Many of our parents, including my dad, grandparents, many of you in this room fought for the right to believe as you wish, to worship or not as you wish. What does it have to do with the library? Libraries aren't political. Libraries are not religious institutions. They exist to serve the community in its entirety. They do not indoctrinate or groom or push any ideology. For many, our libraries serve as a refuge. I'll repeat that, a refuge. I'm going to go to the Citrus Library Systems. As I said last year, I'm going to give you their vision again. Our vision articulates what success will look like in the future. The Citrus County Library System, again, this is the vision, is recognized as the go-to resource for educational support, self-directed learning, and literacy. The Citrus County Library System provides invaluable tools for discovery, self-empowerment, life enrichment.
It's a welcoming community gathering place for families, cultural activities, and civic life. Not all families are alike. Please keep the library system's mission and vision in mind in selecting or retaining members of its library board. The Citrus County Library System is a true community treasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Charlotte Todd. I live in Inverness. I have been here for 7 years and just cannot believe that this is even going on. Why put displays up anyway? You go into a library, you know what you want to look up, you know what you want to research. Why am I forced to look at this LBGT? I want to learn about history. I want to learn about arithmetic. I want to learn what a child is supposed to learn, not what gender they want to be or anything of the sort. I went to the library into the children's section and picked up a book that was 3rd, 4th grade. It was all about racism. This African-American boy was absolutely abused and made fun of. Why is that out there for a 3rd and 4th grade person? I mean, it's just crazy. I don't even know why we keep addressing this. The majority of the citizens in this county are against what's going on. Why is it still there? I mean, people come back year after year after year to address the same issue. Obviously, the people, the council is not for the people. They're for themselves. And that's pitiful. It really is. I just can't believe how much Inverness has changed. And if these people don't like it, go somewhere else. The majority of the people here are conservatives. You don't like to be a conservative? Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, you have, thank you. I don't know. Hello.
Hi. I wasn't going to say anything, but I just wanted to mention one thing. All my adult life, I've heard about the LBGT community is we want to come out of the closet. We want to have the same rights that everyone else has. Well, welcome to everyone else's rights. You don't need a special month. Our veterans have one day of celebration. They have marriage. They have all the same rights that everyone else has. Why do they get specialty days, months, programs, etc.? Why is it needed? Somebody please tell me. Why do they need special everything? You're just like the rest of us, boring Americans. Get over it. You don't need special displays. You don't need special anything. There are people in the heterosexual community that do things that I find abhorrent and disgusting that I would never participate in. We don't need to teach sexuality to kids, heterosexual, homosexual, anything. Leave the children alone. I was left alone. I survived. Our ancestors were left alone. They survived. We flourished. We don't need to teach children about sexuality. The homosexuals have won the right to marriage, etc. They don't need special rights, period. Leave it out of the children's sphere. An adult sphere. Unfortunately, because of what's happening in certain communities, I have had to read and learn things that I never wanted in my mind because I'm reading an article about what they're trying to push in certain areas, phrases and things that homosexual, heterosexual, I don't want in my brain. But now it's being thrusted onto me because it's pushing more and more acceptability for more. Just be like the rest of us, boring, live your life, be married, have your children. You don't need anything special. You're not special now. You're just like the rest of us. Slug along through life and live your life and leave everybody alone. That's all I want. Thank you.
Chair, for the record, can I please get her name?
I'm sorry, your name, ma'am?
Oh, Patty O'Connell from Floral City.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. And please state your name and where you live.
Hi, my name is Deirdre Sweeney, and I live in Inverness in Citrus Hills, and I've only spoken here once before, and I'm not much of a public speaker. But first of all, I would just like to say I'm really dismayed in the hatred that I'm hearing today of the other. It's the other. It's the fear of people that are not like them, and I'm really sad to see that that's what Citrus County has become. The talk about religion, separation of church and state, it's pretty clear. I'm Catholic. Anyone who's Christian knows it's the New Testament. I give you a new law, and that is love one another. So that's the New Testament, the new sacrament, a new law. But the other thing I want to say is that everyone talks about this being a conservative county. So you're talking about who the voting is. The people here are conservative, but if you look back at our county's voting records, a majority of people voted for solar power. Most people would consider that a liberal. The environmental that would be a liberal, but Citrus County voted for solar power. Citrus County also overwhelmingly voted for the amendment for legalizing marijuana, for medical marijuana. Is that a conservative issue? No. So the conservative people are here because the rest of us are out working. I took the day off so I could come here, so I'm working. Another issue that the majority of Citrus Countians voted for was restoring of voting rights. That would not be considered a conservative issue. So when you look at the county as a whole, not the people that are in this room who have the time to come here, it's not all conservative. So public libraries are for everyone. And it's supposed to represent everyone. And I really commend our current board and you to just echo what Mr. Gilbert said. You want people who are qualified. I work in healthcare. I would not someone who is not qualified in healthcare to be on the board of the hospital that I work at. So look at the qualifications, not who they vote for, what their education is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Willard Eller from Beverly Hills, Florida. Just have a couple of comments. I heard it said that many conservative Christians, of which I'm one, spew hate. I'm commanded by Jesus to love everyone. And because I disagree with someone doesn't mean I hate them in any way. Jesus disagreed with many of the leaders in that day. And, the display, I think, is not neutral. It is, because of its display, it removes neutrality from it, in my opinion. Not every book in the library is on display. At the same time, I would like to say that our children in this generation are under attack in so many ways, beginning before birth and going even at an early age now. Their minds are under attack. And as someone said earlier, I think it's important to let them be children. Their minds are not ready to absorb things except at that time in their life when they are mature enough to receive information. And so that is why I think the display is wrong. I think it should not be displayed. The mere description and definition of a display is to put it in the forefront, to make it visible, and even more so than other books. And so I just would hope that you would consider that and be mindful of our children and the fact that they are under attack, and they are our future. many who are being led for one reason or another are regretting decisions. You know, some are having operations that they cannot reverse. It is a horrible thing, and those who are profiting, whether it's pharmaceutical companies, medical institutions, whatever it is, they're reaping benefits at the risk of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Rick Matherson. I'm from Hernando, Florida, and I oppose special interest displays. It's not hate, but love to let children be innocent. You know, don't steal a child's innocence from them. Keep the library neutral. I'm for keeping Elaine Clyde, or Klein, I don't really know her last name. I like Steve Moline, and I've heard that Justine Strickland is also a good choice. So pretty much you have to ask yourself, who do you serve? Whom shall you serve? And we are a constitutional republic, not a democracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here again. My name is Frank Papson. I'm from Hernando. I wish I could remember what I said the last time I was here, because I was told it was pretty good. But I don't remember. I mean, it must be senile, 81. Anyways, I was taught years ago that a child is only born with emotion. And he really doesn't know what emotion is except by feel. And he learns how to open his eyes and he begins to see. And his mind is an open book, blank. There's nothing in it. The only thing he learns is what he sees and what he hears. He learns touch when he first touches his mother's breast. He learns to see when he first opens up his eyes. And as he goes through his life, he's taught by his parents, and he's taught by his environments, and later on he's taught by his children that he plays with, and the schools that he attends. And throughout life, you learn from what you see, what you hear, what you're taught, the learning that you learn in school, on and on and on. Well, some people don't like the display that was put on the library because of the fact that a child comes in there and he looks at this display and he may not even be able to read what the books are, but he looks at the colors on there and he says he remembers from what he's seen on television or he heard on the radio or seen flying flags all over the place, and he's learning. And the last thing I want to do him to consider is that normal? Well, what is normal? Well, normal is something that goes on all the time, everywhere. Just like prostitution is normal. A kleptomaniac may be normal. You know, I mean, you can go on and on and on with different kinds of things there where you think things are normal. I am against the censorship going on that we have. Gone with the Wind is a bad book. Huckleberry Finn is a bad book. I don't want people on the library board that are going to condemn these kind of books because they don't belong there. We are an American people, an American society, and we're born with freedom. I'm not saying you turn around and have these books on display. Listen, I mean, come on. You wouldn't put Hustler or Playboy out there in display. So why put out this? You want to have it in the library? All well and good. Have it in this adult section where it belongs. But child needs to be taught. Let them to learn how to be normal, what I consider to be. Oh, my time is up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Next speaker.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Mike O'Connell. I'm from Floral City. Didn't plan on coming up and speaking today, but I was inspired a few moments ago by a gentlelady who brought up a photo of the display we've all been talking about. This display I just found out about this morning. And one of the things I found interesting about her comments is that she said the display is not in our faces. Now, she's speaking as an adult, and she's a little shorter than me. So let's say the display is not in our faces. I couldn't help but noticing, and I'm so thankful that she showed the photo, the display looked to me in the photo like it was about this tall. Now, whose faces is that display in? If it's not in our faces, obviously it's in the faces of children. Another gentle lady spoke this morning, and she said the displays don't attract anyone. Then why do we need the displays? It doesn't make sense. Now, I was in the grocery store recently, and I was looking for my high fiber cereal. Guess where I found it? Top shelf. You look at down at the low shelf, and you find the garbage. Now, yes, because they know kids see that, and they're attracted to things that maybe are not all that good for them. From my perspective, and I'm Catholic, I come from a family of 6 kids. I'm the youngest, so I was learning a lot of things from my older siblings. Okay, I didn't know what the word gay meant until I was 13. I didn't need to know that. I didn't need to know about sex, period. Okay, now 13 maybe is a little old to learn about this kind of thing, but really, for a display this tall, what is that, 5, 6-year-olds? Why do they need to learn about sex? Why can't they learn that at home from their parents? Now, I hope I don't come across as being hateful or being a Nazi, because there's been some speakers who have said that people who think like me are Nazi-like, or haters. I haven't heard a lot of hate. I'm Catholic. I know most of the people that have spoken this morning are evangelical. And I'll tell you something. Those people that I hear from and that I know are the kindest, most thoughtful people that I've ever met. Salt of the earth. So, just learning about this whole thing this morning, I've come to ask that you vote in new blood. Elaine, from what I understand, is good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janet Genova. I'm from Hernando. I just want to say that I didn't expect to make this meeting, but I was able to get out of a prior commitment and get here real fast. So I have not heard all the speakers, but from what I have heard is that you'd think this was a meeting about a display. I don't think so. This meeting, I thought, was to promote and retain new advisory board members, a new advisory board member, and hopefully, if you do what I would like, is to retain those that have requested retention. They have served us well in the past. They have been through some difficult times. They are experienced. Experience is necessary. Please do the right thing. Take your course as you see fit, but please retain the people that want to be retained. There is no reason to replace them, and look for people that are qualified. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Tomaselli from Hernando. Somebody this morning referred to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah as an example, but they left out the part where Lot offered his 2 daughters to the mob to be gang raped. There are so many stories in the Bible that, if we saw them all, are horrific and would violate our current standards of living. But they leave it as is. God left it as is. Why? because these are stories to educate us that we can learn from. I think it's a good example for us. Why do we want to edit books and take books away from children that will educate them? And learning about other types of people, the others, is an education for children. It will teach them the pros and the cons of certain kinds of behavior. I read a statistic that said 71% of the population in the US is opposed to book bans. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we talk about indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Well, do we know what it means? Does that mean I take away your right to educate your children the way you want to? That I tell you what books your children can read? No. It means that I give you the right as a parent to choose the books for your children. We have a Florida Bill of Rights, a Parents' Bill of Rights, that does not say that religious groups can push their biases on other people. No, it gives parents the right to decide what their children could read. There are many of us who believe in diversity, inclusion, and equity. And this is what I want to advocate for. I believe that we have put people in place in the educational system and in libraries who are trained to make these decisions. And I believe that we should leave these decisions to them and to the parents, not to religious groups that have their own personal biases that they want to push. So please, when appointing people to make these decisions, let them be people who are open-minded and who are trained to know what literature is in the best interest of our children. Leave it up to them, not to religious groups that have their own biases. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Louis Marin. I live in Pine Ridge. Coming from a communist country, I assure you that this is not about censorship. If you had children, small children, would you be in favor of them having access to sexually explicit books, whether it's gay sex or heterosexual sex? Doesn't matter. This isn't about being against gay or transgender. This is about exposing kids to material that they don't need to be exposed to. Everyone on this county commission was elected because you all ran as conservative Republicans. Today, you will have the chance to prove how conservative you really are, or to show the citizens of Citrus County that you ran a fraudulent campaign. I'd like to go back to the early 1990s. Do you all remember of WWJD? What would Jesus do? That's what I'd like to remind you today. Please do the right thing for the children. I would like to recommend 4 conservative members to the library board: Elaine Clyde, Steve Moline, Lenora Nelson, Justin Strickland. There is only one God, and you took an oath on a holy Bible. I thank you for your time, taking into consideration the 4 members that I named. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I didn't sign up. Can I still say something? Good morning, everyone. My name is Gail Roughgarden. I am on the Central Ridge Friends Board. I'm a former elementary school librarian, so I'm just here to talk about the subject of displays. When I put up displays, I wanted the kids to look at them. I wanted them to be interested in reading about Christmas, the fall, Easter, whatever the subject was. And I put up the best materials for them to want to do that. I don't agree that the gay pride displays belong in the front of the library. I don't believe in book censorship, so I don't think we should do away with the books. But I do believe that for young children coming in, and I know it's going on not in our school system, but other places all over the country, that they don't need that kind of orientation. And maybe they'll just walk past it and won't even notice, but they will notice the rainbow. So I'm not against the library having any kind of book. I just would like it put aside in the back so that it's just not overt. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Could you fill out a green
Sure.
card? Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close open to the public. Board, I'm going to just say a few things and then I'll open it up to each of you. Thank you, sir. So what I want to say is, we're here today. The agenda is to nominate and appoint 4 individuals for board positions. A lot of you, who I'm so thankful are here today, came to speak about a display and said that we need to listen to you, and we did. There was not a display last year. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but there wasn't. And I know for a fact the previous board, all 5 of us agreed that we did not want displays that promoted religion, sexuality, political groups, and we were very adamant about that. So I feel like, I don't know if any of you went to the library this year and noticed that there was not a display, but I know for a fact that we are here, we ran for office, we're in this position because we want to protect our county, we want to see that our citizens have the quality of life, and we do listen. I am a mother, I'm a commissioner, I am definitely a Tiger mom. I will protect my daughters. I made sure I watched what they read, what they checked out. There's been a lot of misinformation from both sides, but we are here today to appoint members and that are going to sit on this board and continue the good work that they're doing. What I'm looking for is, I'm looking at their qualifications. I'm looking at how long they've lived in the community, how active they are in the library systems, and if they know how the library operates and have the knowledge of the programs and services that we offer. I know it's very popular for both far left and far right to get us all amped up and it's you against us, but that's not the case. I know everyone up here. I know most of the applicants. We're here to make Citrus County better and to protect our children. And I am thankful that so many of you came out today, but I do want you to know that you know, the woman in the front row, you said, why am I here again? You didn't listen to me. We actually did listen, and there weren't any displays. So I just think that's important for you to know that. So, Commissioner Kennard?
Yes, thank you. First of all, before I get into this, I want to compliment a few people. Mr. Olson, Ben Olson, got up and spoke. Most of the speakers did a very good job of articulating their position without attacking others. Some went down a different road that is not effective at all. I'm very complimentary of Mr. Olson, Mr. Ballard, and Timothy Gilbert. Those 3, not that there weren't others that did a great job, but those 3 sitting here listening to each and every one of you that got up and spoke, trying to get your viewpoint, what your position was, those 3 stood out. And the last person, the fourth person I want to compliment is you, Madam Chair. Maintaining order in a meeting where we have an issue that can be very divisive, and it's not the issue that is even being decided today. So my compliments to you, and trying to encourage continued public input from whichever viewpoint they were coming from is challenging, and folks that can be distractive to others unfortunately need to be either asked to settle that down or leave the room. So my compliments to you as well. I don't know if you want to proceed with a motion. I'm prepared to make a motion for 4 people, or if you want to do this one seat at a time, or how you want to proceed with that.
Well, you have the floor, so.
Well, then I'll go ahead and make a motion for 4 people for this board. My motion would be that we reappoint Lorraine Benfield, Kenneth Jones, and Elaine Clyde. And the 4th position, widely respected in the community, and I'll tell you why I'm nominating this person, is Justin Strickland. We all sit on various boards, and most of those boards tend to get filled with the thickest resumes that people can produce, and we have got some great resumes. But most of those boards also have someone seated, a lay person from the community, or somebody from maybe outside of a particular focus group of that board, to give a flavor of the community, a flavor of the lay person in the community. And I was very happy to see Justin Strickland's resume. He is widely respected, and I think would truly be a great addition to our library board. So my motion is for those 4 people.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor.
I second it.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Councilman Brown.
Madam,
Yes?
are we discussing?
Yeah. At this time, we have a motion on the floor. I'm going to open it to the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak on these nominations? Seeing none, I'm going to open it to the board. Commissioner Finnegan.
Thank you. I can understand why Commissioner Kennard made that motion. I mean, I think what happened last year, though, what was so upsetting is people spoke on both sides, and it was just like, let's just keep everything the same. So I'm leery of keeping everything the same and then just filling the one chair. In my own research, I looked at every single applicant here, and then I have always welcomed community response. So I kept, through my emails and some phone calls, as I would get names or hear from people, I'd write them down. And how many times did I get the same name over and over and over again? So I took the 4 that was mentioned much. The other thing I want to point out, a lot of people said education, and I looked at that too, because on first blush, I looked and I thought, oh, I mean, there's some great applicants, and they have, library science degrees, and you'd think, oh, library, anytime you hear library, the most education. But then I thought of Mr. Head, and I thought, if I was in his position, should my advisors be all me? Educated people telling me that they know my job better. We have an expert. He's highly acclaimed and actually will probably get promoted here pretty soon. But I didn't think that's what we should be going for. We need people from different walks of the community. I've listened to what I think were both sides, and some people were a little bit in the middle. And no matter where people were, everyone kept saying balance. And I would agree with balance. I think that maybe we don't have a balance at this time. So I know there's a motion on the floor. Probably not going to go for that, because the 4 names that I were emailed and called that were the top of the names I got were Elaine Clyde, Justin Strickland, Steve Moline, and Lenora Nelson. And then I've heard those names again here today by different people. Thank you.
Commissioner Hefner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Excuse me, allergies are trying to take me out, so I'll be brief and you'll all be grateful. I agreed with Commissioner Kennard for the same reason. I had on my list, I had Justin Strickland and Lenora and Eleanor. And I think this is it's going to get us to where we need to go. People need to start looking at the issues. There was no display this year, so that should be, it never goes, it just shouldn't be a big issue. And one thing I'm believing is David Arthurs, who many of you know, was our owner and editor of the Chronicle, and he was editor emeritus, and he always had printed on the paper, I may disagree with your choice, but not with your right to choose. And that's where I think we are now. I trust our board to do the right thing and to do what's good for the community. And when we talk about the rainbow, God put in the sky as a pact between man and him. So I'm happy with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brown.
Yeah, I just wanted to say how I second Commissioner. I'm sorry. I was quick to second Commissioner Kennard's motion only because 3 of the 4 names that I had on my list were on his list. I did spend a lot of time looking at all the applications that we received, and that 3 of the 4 that I had chosen was on. So I figured I'll take 3 out of 4. That's a good shot. I have to agree with Mr. Gilbert. I didn't think we were here to debate ideology or biology today. We are here to either reappoint or appoint new members of the advisory board to the library. I agree with, again, Mr. Gilbert and some of the other folks out there that spoke that, we're looking for folks that are qualified to serve on the board. And after reviewing the applications, I believe, again, the 4 that were mentioned are qualified to serve on the advisory board. This is not to say that there are other applicants that were equally qualified. I mean, there were a lot of folks that were qualified, but we only could pick 4. So it is what it is, right? But there are other folks that were qualified to be on the board, and I strongly suggest that those that did not get appointed today continue to be active in the community, continue to be active in the library. There's a lot of different capacities that they could contribute, and that if they still want to be a member of the advisory board, to reapply. But again, 3 out of 4 with what Commissioner Kennard made a motion for, I feel pretty comfortable with, and that's why I was pretty quick to second his motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Bays or Commissioner Davis? You have anything? Commissioner Bays.
I appreciate everybody's input today. Life is pretty challenging in these times, and sometimes I guess I wake up and I pray that parents would become parents again. I think that should be our prayer, that parents teach their children values and morals and grace and hope, because that's where we're at as a society today. So I don't take this lightly. I've looked at all these applications. There's wonderful applications. I applaud everyone that has applied. I will support what's on the floor, the motion. It has nothing to do with any of this. And I will just say this, it's my understanding that there's been no more displays. I agree with what's been said. I don't think it's our job to display any particular sector. Let's leave that job to the parents. So I'm going to support what's on the floor.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Very well said, Commissioner Bays. I agree that parents need to do better parenting, especially in light of so much discord in our country right now and obviously locally. There has been an enormous amount of disinformation, and massive kudos to our chair for setting the record straight on that. We have not had a pride display in almost 2 years. We do not have one scheduled. And we have never had a drag queen anything in our library system. I want to clear up one other thing with quite a few of the speakers. You brought in the school system. We have nothing to do with the school system. The county government and the school government are completely separate entities. Our library system, under a certain age, and if it's important, I'm sure I can get the answer real quick. I want to say it's around 12 or 13. You cannot be in the library alone without your parents. So we do respect the right of parents. And I do suggest that parents be parents, grandparents be grandparents. So I too, this is 3 out of 4 for me, so I will support this. I'm particularly happy that Justin Strickland made the motion. He's the one that I called to give last rites for my father in December. He is an exceptional human being. He is a established community leader. I do kind of wish that Dylan Newton had made the list, because she's a established author who is in and out of the library system a lot. I think it's important for our library advisory board to be involved in the library system. And can't remember what, I think somebody mentioned that it's very important to have experience on the board. I gotta say, guys, I've been on this job a little over 2 years. I'm just now starting to get my feet under me. It is really difficult job. Experience does matter. I already made some pretty good goofs, especially the first year, and hopefully they'll get less and less as time goes on. But anyway, so I will support the motion, Chair.
Thank you. I'm also going to support this motion. I know 10 of the 19 applicants personally. Dylan Newton was one of mine also. She was my daughter's Girl Scout leader. She is very active in the community. She's a published author. She's a mother. Wonderful, wonderful person. But she was one of the 10. I'm happy to, Justin Strickland is a mentor. He is a friend. He is generational here in Citrus County. He knows it. So I'm very thankful for him. I think he's got a lot on his plate with his young children, but he put his application in, so he'll have to figure out how to balance all that. But I'm going to support this, even though it was hard. It was very hard. And knowing some of these people personally and knowing what they stand for, it was important to me. But this is a nice balance. I know that a lot of you that spoke, I didn't, you wanted the 4, you're going to get the 2. I think that is a good balance. And let's hope and pray that this board continues to do the good work that they're doing, and that we continue to educate our children and protect them. And if I could give you just one little public service announcement, I would love to see you all of you that are so passionate about our children, getting on the video game bandwagon, because they are really, really influencing our children in a negative way. And I would love to see you guys get on that, because that is scary, what's happening to our young children. So thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. I
Madam
believe.
Chair, I'd move to cease nominations.
Thank you. And can I get a second for that?
Second.
Second. And at this time, we have Lorraine Benfield, Kenneth Jones, Elaine Clyde, and Justin Strickland to fill the 4 positions. Madam Attorney?
You can take a vote on the motion to cease nominations.
Oh, yes. Can I? Do I need public comment on that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I would like to, all in favor of ceasing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, that passes 6-1. We have a motion on the floor for Lorraine Benefield, Kenneth Jones, and Justin Strickland, Elaine Clyde. And we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
That passes 6-1. Thank you. Okay. At this time, we're going to open it back to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak? No? Seeing. Okay, you would have to come to the podium if you would like to speak.
Deborah Spence, Crystal River. Again, I'd just like to reiterate that the issue of the LGBT displays in the library is basically a dead issue. And we've basically wasted an hour and a half of our time here talking about something that does not exist anymore, but to give people some feeling that things are going to change. We are on the right course right now, and that's where it needs to stay.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this?
Lenora Nelson, Inverness. I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to read through all of those applications and considering not just the applications, but the resume and doing your research to see who is involved in the community. And picking Justin was a great choice, and I thank you for that. And I thank you for your time, and I do apologize for the amount of time that we've taken up of yours today.
And thank you. And I appreciate your application and your 44 years here in Citrus County. Thank you. Anyone else?
Tim Gilbert again from Inverness. Just want to say thank you. First off, Commissioner Kennard, thank you for the words. I appreciate that. And I meant it. And I think what you said as well was great. They wanted 4, they got 2. Seems like a negotiation to me. I like it. Ms. Bays, great points as well. Same thing about the children of the video games. That I can get behind that. I see it. I just want to say I appreciate this board. The 5, especially the 2, but this new board that we have. We disagree. You guys are talking. Thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time?
Sometimes I think we give compromise.
Could you have your name, please?
Michael Connell.
Thank you.
Sometimes I think compromise is a little overblown, and we use that as a cover for lack of maybe listening to the constituents. I think it was pretty clear in this room today. And I'm new to this area. By the way, I moved here from the east coast of Florida. One of the reasons is because it's a conservative place. From what I'm hearing, most of you claim to be conservatives, and I'm wondering why you compromise. Is it just because you can't make a good, strong decision? I see strength in one person, Diane Finnegan. So the next time election time comes around, we're going to remember you. We're going to remember your names, and we're going to remember this, because this is our, not my children, but my grandchildren. When I take my 7-year-old to the library, and he's a boy, okay, and he's a boyish boy, so he likes to run and be free and see and do. I want him to be safe. And the thing that I'm getting from this is like, oh, the display, you know, the display, they put it on hold. Well, nobody said they put it on hold, but that's what they did. That's my understanding. The people who are in favor of it are still going to be on this board, a couple of them. And I find that unsatisfactory. I just want to let you know.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Bays.
I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Mr. Head, would you mind coming to the podium and addressing this? Let's get
Okay,
some.
Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Under the policies and procedures, what has been decided by
Sir,
the?
excuse me, people, excuse me.
Good.
Sir,
What?
if you'd like to hear your answer to your questions that's coming up. Yeah. Mr. Head, continue. Commissioner Bays.
The policies and procedures that were developed by the board,
Correct.
what was decided about these displays? Because I would like a final clarification to everybody's interest in this, and it's my understanding that those displays that were up once and they'll no longer be put up. Is that a correct statement?
Not as a matter of policy, but as a matter of procedural and doing the wishes of the board. I mean, it was obviously that was intended. We took that intention. As a matter of policy, all displays are reviewed quarterly, so that is still in motion. There is not a plan to do a display as stated, and so that is where we are. But there's nothing that strictly prohibits, as a matter of policy, any particular display, but it's a matter of
Board
community
direction.
standards and board direction. Absolutely.
And would that be also true with any type of sexual orientation display?
Correct.
Thank you. Does that clarify that for you, sir?
You know, you spoke, that we were just answering your question.
But I just want to
Okay,
I just
well,
wanted to
thank you.
clarify that.
Thank you.
Policy, so
Thank-
maybe most of you didn't understand.
Sir,
the
we don't
policy.
speak from the audience, but we were just answering your questions.
So I'm not allowed to speak?
No,
this is
you've
public
had
hearing?
your time. You've had your moment, but we appreciate your,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
We closed open to the public, Frank. Thank you. Anybody else? This time? Okay. Seeing no other business and this task being completed, I am going to adjourn this meeting and thank you for coming.